Well, welcome back to another Speaker's Tip. Today, I want to talk to you about starting your speech. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I have a lot of speeches coming into me. It's contest season again in the Toastmasters world for the International Speech Competition. And I have a lot of speakers sending their speeches into me. I'm reviewing, and I'm seeing some consistent issues with the way people start their speeches. And I mean no disrespect by this. This is how basically inexperienced speakers try to make an impact with their speech. And in my experience, it has the opposite effect. It creates a disconnection with the audience. It creates confusion. And what I'm going to share with you lessens the impact of your message when you do give it to the speech. Well, excuse me, when you do give it to the audience. And what it is that they start the speech off with this almost like a preamble. And I'm going to explain to you what I'm talking about. And I'll give you some examples of this. So we have this maybe 30 to 45-second preamble, this 30,000-foot view of the topic I'm talking about and the effect this has across the world. And then typically they'll go into a Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and another Achilles heel, cliche, and anyone, whoever, into their message. That is used over and over again, and I always recommend don't do that. Just if you want to acknowledge the contest master, the fellow, the people in the audience, I think that's a nice thing to do. And then they actually start their speech. So this whole exercise before Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and then starting the speech and telling the story. The whole concept, especially in inspirational speaking or motivational speaking, is to connect with the audience, or I call it engage the audience. And when I think of engaging the audience, I think of those big train hitches where they go, and I want to do that with the audience. And I want to start pulling the audience along. Where do I start moving the audience? Where do I actually start that connection? And I start them on the story and the journey of the speech versus explaining what the journey is all about and explaining what the message is I'm going to give them. Now, I don't use any of the people's speeches that they send in to me. I don't want them to watch my video and go, oh, no, he's using my speech. But let's just say you're doing a speech on bullying, okay? And common subject, big issue in society today. And you start the speech off with questions, which I don't recommend because you are asking the audience questions. There's two reasons. You ask them questions, you don't give them a chance to answer them. The other one, what if, and ask yourself this, what if the answer to the question is no? So we start the speech off with, have you ever been picked on by somebody bigger than you? Now, let me just explain this. If the answer is no, that question fell flat on the audience. If you do want to ask the question, give the audience a way to answer you. So you could go, have you ever been picked on by somebody bigger than you, and get a hand that comes up? Or have you ever been picked on by somebody bigger than you, and get a nod and get them to answer you? Now we have some communication going on. Okay. But let's just say you start the speech off with, have you ever been picked on by somebody bigger than you? How did you feel? What did that do to your confidence when that happened? Bullying, now we go into our 30,000-foot view. Bullying is something that millions of people every day have to suffer with. And not only when they're children, they carry these scars throughout their entire life. Being bullied can change your entire perspective on life. I've just told you what my entire speech is about. You know exactly where I'm going at this point. Then I go, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters, and anyone who's ever been pushed around by somebody else. A cliche. When I was in second grade, I used to walk a mile to school through my little town in Josephine, Nebraska. Okay. Halfway to school, Michael Myers was in the fourth grade, and he used to sit on his front porch and wait for me to come by. And when he saw me come by, he'd run out and he'd push me on the ground and he'd make me give me his lunch money. And if I didn't, he'd punch me in the arm. He wouldn't punch me in the nose. He wouldn't punch me in the mouth where you could tell I'd been hit or have a bloody lip or a bloody nose. He'd punch me someplace that really hurt, but nobody could ever see it. Then you go on to what the effect that it had and what happened and how you moved on through. The speech started with When I was in second grade, I used to walk a mile to school. Okay. And there we go. That's where the speech started. All this other stuff before is what I call added inapplicable verbiage. The story engages and you start moving the audience at that point. So what I do, and that's what I recommend you do, is look at your speech when you put it together and say, if I pulled that out, does it make any difference? Or so look at it, where does the story actually start? Now, the whole idea of giving your message up front is another thing I talk about all the time. Don't give the message of your speech right up front. That's like giving the punchline to your joke before you tell the setup for the joke. It takes all the power away when you finally get to the message of the speech. The message of the speech usually comes in about 2/3 the way, half to 2/3 the way through the speech. And it needs to be set up with the story. So you tell the story delivers a message, and then you share how you applied that message in your life, that resolution to the conflict you were having, and how it changed your life. That's basically the sequence. But let's look at starting the speech. Watch all this inapplicable verbiage in the beginning of the speech. Look at where your speech actually starts. And I think you'll be surprised how much better you connect with the audience and how much more they will enjoy the story and how much more impactful your message will be when you cut out the preamble. Give it a shot. Let me know if it works. If it doesn't, shoot me an email and tell me I'm nuts, okay? Have a great day.